Well, hello and welcome. Thank you for joining this live stream today. My name is Shelley Benhoff. I am a owner at Hoff's Tech and an author and a speaker. I have worked in tech for over 20 years, and I decided to do these live streams because as a technical person who had to figure out how to lead people, I had a hard time, and I figured other people did too. And then there are also other topics for leaders that, everybody struggles with, which brings us to the topic of today, which is how to work with project estimates, and more importantly, bad project estimates. So I can see on YouTube that this tool I'm using made a new stream. I'm real sorry about that. I will try to fix that for next time, but I'm already into the stream, so I figure, yeah, that'll just have to be how it is for now. So, how do we manage these project estimates? First, let's talk about what we're going to talk about. So in today's session, we're going to talk about what causes bad estimates, because that happens to everybody all the time, regardless of how much you try to schedule proper estimates, and all of that happens to all of us, so it's okay. We're going to talk about how to handle bad estimates, what should your strategy be, and all of that. And we're going to talk about how to organize projects when you don't really understand the underlying technology. This can happen if you are a technical person anyway, so this can certainly happen to anyone. And then we'll talk about improving project processes as well to wrap up. So to start, let's talk about what causes bad estimates. So there's this idea of planning bias, okay? This is a phenomenon which says that however long you think you need to do a task, you will actually need longer. This is pretty standard, regardless of how many times you've actually performed the task before or how deep your expert knowledge is. There's still a high probability that you won't allow yourself enough time to do the actual work. Then there's also optimism. So this is the tendency for us to believe that we are less likely to experience negative events or risks that actually happen than others, and to act on this optimistic belief, right? The classic, it won't happen to me. How many people are experiencing that right now? And then also, this is really caused by the fact that project team members will underestimate their own task completion times, but not others. And then project teams will also tend to focus on the time modeling activity in the current project plan, but at the expense of using previous experience, even when those experience may have been similar. And then also past poor experiences are usually written off to external causes, and the learnings from all of that are discarded, and they're not seen as relevant to the current project. Hold on, sorry, my screens are aplenty. I can see why people have like multiple screens for things, because I definitely need more than two for streaming. So I'll have to get another one. Okay, so story time. bad requirements also cause the estimates to go awry. So let me tell you a story about companies that don't involve devs in client meetings. I have actually worked at places like this. Lead devs need to be in client meetings. Lead devs must have the soft skills needed to communicate with clients, and too often they have no leadership skills despite the word lead being in the actual job title. So they really need support. It's really hard to switch from a technical person, expert, into a leadership role. So if your devs are struggling with estimates, the lead person needs to have those soft skills, coached and mentored as well, just to be successful, which is what we all want, ultimately. So really, the entire team should ensure that everybody is on um, the same page with clients in meetings. And a good way to do this is to use active listening. This is the age old skill set that is very, very useful, and should be taught and used by all companies, really. This is where you paraphrase the talking points or the information that your client stated, and paraphrase it to them again to make sure that everyone is on the same page. Because one thing that happens a lot that people don't realize is that two people can be saying the same words but meaning different things. So this is another reason why it's important to use video, especially in meetings, because you need to see people's facial expressions, their body language, and all of that really helps communication overall. So I had this job a while back, and they had this major project, their largest one, and it was just never on track. There were always estimate problems, always sort of team issues, and all kinds of stuff that just didn't go as planned, And so when I went in, I took over the project as a lead dev. And what I really found was that the people at that company that were assigned that role literally had no soft skills. They didn't even want to talk to clients. So the problem with that is that those people are not lead devs. They are just devs, extremely expert and skilled, absolutely, but not the type of people who have the personality to lead, actually. So I came in and I showed them what a lead dev should do, you know, and I helped the team with their overall processes, which we'll talk about that a little bit later. And it was just really interesting how quickly that project turned around just through communication, through teamwork. listening to each other, understanding each other. But this all came because I have had the support to become a lead. I have learned all of these skills, and so many people are not given that opportunity. And a lot of companies take technical people who are great and proficient, but then they push them into these leadership roles that really aren't for them, you know? So they don't have any support, and so they aren't successful, which is just awful. And I wish that that would never occur. One of the things that I helped them do was write out requirements in actual tickets. Keep everything organized in a system like Jira or whatever. And just through that, just through having a PM or analyst or even QA write out requirements, the devs should not write out requirements. I've also worked at a lot of places that did that. That is not a good practice because you are removing a layer of communication overall. So people need to make sure that all of the information is there, agreed upon, has been talked about, and everyone understands the task at hand. All right, so how do we fix bad estimates? So the first thing that is very important, and it's not always possible, but you should try to include the whole team in estimate planning. I cannot tell you how important this is. Really, if you only have one person on the team who is handling estimates, then they're really making estimates for their own skills. You won't know who will be assigned what tasks in the estimation phase. So it's really smart to just put together an average estimate from the entire team. You should also track original estimates versus the actual time spent on a task and use historical data to calculate your error rate. This one is really, really useful and important. And then you want to add that error rate to all future estimates. So I find that the average error rate for me and other companies I've worked for is about 25-ish%. So I usually always add that to every individual task. It also helps to use Agile because it's made for tech projects. It's made for devs because it is notoriously hard to estimate tasks. That is the nature of what we do. So with Agile, you're breaking everything down into really small tasks, which are much easier to estimate. For example, if you have a task that is to create a search filter, okay, this is a much easier task to estimate than create a search page, which would include the search box, the page layout itself, the controls on the page, the sidebar, the results, all of that. So you want to create individual tasks, granular tasks that really spell out one small task that can be done in a reasonable amount of time. And the last thing that you can do is define assumptions that support your support your estimates and communicate those to the team. For example, create a search filter. This task would assume that the search page already exists and is functional. Assumptions also include the user experience and how your products and services actually help users. Okay. Next. So, how do we organize projects when you don't fully understand the underlying technology? So, I'm going to say rely on the lead dev. They're a very important integral part of the team. As a manager, you're really not expected to be able to build software yourself. This is something that I tell people all the time, and people will often apologize to me for not knowing how to code. When you're a manager, I mean, you don't need to know how to code. You don't even really have to understand the point, or I'm sorry, the technical points, of an actual project. So you do need to rely on the lead. Your job is really, as a manager or a project manager, your job is to facilitate communication between team members and stakeholders to get the information you need to manage projects. So you should really lean on your team to help you organize projects. And you want to meet weekly to manage sprints and backlogs, preferably with the entire team, but that isn't always doable, especially if it's a large team. You can't really take everyone out of work for all that time. But if you can't get the whole team together, then, at least the project manager and the lead dev should handle cleaning up the backlog and all of that. So this will really help to regularly clean up any tasks that are no longer needed or no longer a high priority. And then you want to meet with stakeholders and the lead dev, again, to manage tasks and priorities. The lead should attend stakeholder meetings as often as possible, because this will really ensure that everyone is on the same page and you are not playing telephone between yourself and the team. If the stakeholders have technical questions, then it's really important to have the lead present as well, because it is important to be able to answer technical stuff and to not play telephone. Going to chat. Christopher, hey, thanks for joining. Should the manager at least need to know the elements of software development? Yeah, absolutely. Managers should understand the process. They should know what the moving parts are, right? They do not have to know how to actually build something from scratch, how to handle server load and all of that stuff. However, I have worked for a lot of people who did understand all of that and who could literally roll up their sleeves and hop right in. Well, that's great. Managers should not be expected to know all of that. Yeah, I hope that answered your question. All right, so let's talk about project processes. This is another thing that I am very um, passionate about. And when you're working with projects and processes, I think that the overall, I guess, behavior of people, we get comfortable. And comfort offers a lot of great benefits: reduced stress, reduced anxiety. I certainly deal with that all the time. I have crippling anxiety, actually. Um, and so when you're comfortable, then it's not exactly harder to think about changes to the process because you aren't even considering that. When you have a project process that, is the standard, and you have multiple projects in a organization, then trying to improve the overall process that is standardized for all projects is really, really hard. That takes a lot of, what is it called? Champions, people who listen to your idea about improvements and then talk to the other teams and management. In my experience, when you improve processes on one project and then it is, proven to help, proven to get the project on track again, then yeah, I mean, it's a little bit easier for the entire company to adopt a process if it's proven to work already. So just keep that in mind. But one of the major things that I see with companies that struggle with estimates is that their project process is not exactly agile. Most companies that were founded prior to Agile's kind of takeoff in the late 2000s, early 10s, I guess, pretty much used waterfall, which is completely fine. I've certainly used that before. So when companies that were using waterfall move over to Agile, a lot of them do it kind of in pieces and then it's not done completely, so that they're in this trap of what I like to call Scrum fall or Waggle. Your estimates will never be accurate if you are trying to estimate in an agile project but using waterfall logic. Some examples of this include, the agile method really seeks to ensure that you have enough work for each person and that each person is not overloaded. Waterfall is pretty much the exact opposite of that. It is making sure that you have enough people for the work. So the problem with that approach is that when you are scheduling people to work instead of the other way, the people and their lives take a backseat. So the work comes first instead of people. And when you're estimating using that logic and then estimates are bad, it is important to reiterate how to estimate in Agile. So you have to choose if you want to use story points, which is fine, or if you want to use time estimates, which is also fine, except that you need to um, make sure to use the start estimate and then the actual. You need that information to calculate the error rate overall. So some ways that you can improve this process and ensure that you are as agile as possible. Implement regular scrums. Sprint reviews are really important, and that is one that is, I think, skipped a lot for a lot of companies that I've worked at. Then there is backlog grooming. So this is a really important task that the PM should do with the lead dev. I know I sound like a broken record. I'm just going to say lead dev, you know, rely on them for everything. That is why that's a really hard role. I'll just say hats off to anybody who is a lead. It's not easy. Yeah. And really, the last thing that you should implement to ensure that you're agile are either sprint and or release uh, retrospectives as well. These should really also include the client. You should make sure that your processes are useful to them, that your processes are productive and streamlined extremely. There's a huge issue where people on projects are doing the same thing, or people who take over a portion of a project aren't provided with enough information to continue on a task that was started previously as well. That is something that happens a lot. So you want to just really continue to iterate and improve your processes continuously using your team and asking them consistently for ideas for improvement. And I want to also point out bad estimates are no single person's fault. Any failure in a project, any issue is never one person's fault. There's never a scapegoat. These are it's always a team effort. So make sure that everybody feels heard, make sure that everybody is on the same page, and they're all making sure that everyone on the team, their primary goal is to set the team up for success as well. Well, this one is going quickly. I thought I had more, but that's okay. So some references that I really, really like. I'm going to change my screen really so you can see it without me. References that I like that you should definitely check out. The Harvard Business Review is a great site. This is where I get most of the information for my courses on Pluralsight and elsewhere. They have taught me a whole lot. They have a subscription as well, so I highly recommend that. They have great information for anybody that wants to lead. And then PMI, the project Management Institute as well. They are a great resource for all things project management, and they have a certification track as well. I think they have multiple, but that's always a good idea if you want to increase your knowledge of project estimates. And then we also have my Pluralsight author page, and I have a course on project management basics. This is my most popular course, actually, and it has paid the bills for many years. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so check that out if you are interested in that. And I also have something coming up very, very soon, and I am starting a leadership community. So this community is something that I came up with because I've struggled with leadership. I would really have liked to have a group of people that I could have talked to before taking action on certain things. And the thing about leadership today is that the practices have changed so much over the past few years. It is really, really hard to keep up. It's so hard. I never thought that I would ever have to update any of my leadership courses or blogs, anything like that. But I have had to update all of it because there are such new concepts from agile and helping to support employees moving away from this whole idea that you have to work 80 or like 100 hours a week. Absolutely not. I used to be a overachiever. I guess I still am, but within reason now. So I wanted to provide a place where people would have access to a private community of leaders, have the chance to collaborate together, answer questions, handle issues, and really just cultivate the next generation or so of good managers, good leaders. The difference between leadership and management. Leadership is really more important because that's where you inspire people. Management is more, you're just handling tasks, right? But when you are a leader, you have a lot more opportunity to mentor and coach others as well, which is very important to set everyone up for success. So some other things that this community will provide, I will do a monthly Ask Me Anything on Slack as well. You'll get one leadership private webinar each quarter, and then you'll also have an opportunity to meet with me personally for some coaching or whatever is a struggle at the time. So then what is the value of this? Why should you join, right? So I have more than 20 years of experience, and I have managed global teams, remote teams, and hybrid teams. And I've really learned a lot about what makes each type of team successful. And I think that right now a lot of people are managing hybrid teams especially. So I went through all of my courses. I think I had 6 on leadership, and I changed everything to teach how to handle teams where some people are in the office and others are remote. I think that this is a lot of the struggle that people are having at the moment. But yeah, I have managed and provided consulting as well for more than 7 years of my career. And I also have experience myself as a technical person who was turned into a leader. And so, with that said, I am very happy to introduce this. It will be out in the fall, probably next month. I will be announcing that very, very soon. But if you sign up today at hofstech.com/leadership community, you will have the access to become a founder. So the founders will get access to one group role-playing exercise workshop where I'll put you in teams of 3 or 4, and you can act out conflict resolution is what will be in the workshop mainly. So again, we expect to launch this fall, and I really find that having workshops, especially for handling conflict, which is something we all struggle with that. It's not easy. These really, really help to solidify your experience overall and help you skill up. Exactly. So that will be the focus of this workshop. So with that said, that was actually my last slide. And if anybody has any questions, you can ask in chat. We can have a quick thing. Christopher, how much does it cost to be a founder? So we are looking at 3 tiers of subscription. The subscription will be quarterly, because that I think is just easier. So the lowest tier that will come with everything except for the meeting with me and the webinar, that will be $50 per quarter. And then the other tiers are $70 and $100. Yeah. So you'll have access to all of those tiers. I should put that info on the landing page as well. So thank you for your question and your participation as always, and your support. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I'm really sorry that this stream was a little bit shorter, but maybe it's not a bad thing, because I noticed that I don't think I'm streaming on LinkedIn. Like, it's there, but I'm not live. I'm not sure how this works. This is my first time doing multi-streaming, so next time will be better. And next time I will add Twitter as well. I had planned to stream there as well, but it's not available to everyone, so I have to ask to be enrolled in that. But yeah, thank you very much for joining, and I will see you next time. I'll probably do another stream in about 2 weeks. And I'll choose a topic and let you know. But until then, yeah, check out hofstech.com/leadership community and read more about that program. Thanks for watching, and have a